What's your most embarrassing moment? The single moment where you can remember your face literally getting flushed with red out of sheer and utter embarrassment. A moment in time where you wish that someone was recording so that you could play it back for laughs. Or hell, even if it's something that you wish you could go back and change. Embarrassing shit happens to everyone. But in my case, my single most embarrassing moment, to some people, sounds like the beginning of a really shitty porno. This is the one with the Sunday dinner from hell. During one of my fancy-free summers, where I was mostly interested in getting laid and getting lit, I found myself talking to this girl that I met at a bar. We had talked at length for a couple of weeks, and it seemed like it was going great. We were talking basically every day. We were texting. We were meeting up at this bar every night. We were dancing. We were drinking. We were really getting to know each other. And whether it became something sexual or something more like a really good friendship, I mean, I was actually having a blast. The girl wasn't even my type, honestly. But that didn't really matter. I was just low-key intrigued at what was going to happen next. I didn't really have great experiences before that. I was actually having a really bad time in the dating world at the time, so I was a little nervous about thinking that things were going relatively well. So after about seeing each other for a couple of weeks and hanging out and stuff and enjoying each other's company, she invited me to come over for Sunday dinner. And you know, I was really awkward about meeting people's parents or like their family members because it was very seldom that people actually invited me over to their houses. I was normally that girl that got kicked out when the parents came home, or that girl that got put out when the boyfriend came home. So for anyone to actually invite me over to their home and want to break bread with me in like an actual setting with other people, I was flattered. So of course I agreed. It took me about a week and a half to pick out the right outfit because I didn't want to look too trashy, but I also didn't want to look too plain. And I settled on the perfect little summer outfit. Cute little sundress, some sandals, curled my hair, did my makeup. I low-key looked like a actually decent person. And I took off of work, which was something I rarely did at the time. But we were all set to go. Girl picked me up. We drove to her parents' house. Believe it was in like northeast Philly. I think maybe more closer to like North Philly, like Alany, around there. But we drove out there and it was like, you know, your stereotypical Sunday dinner. You got cousins, uncles, friends, aunties, grandma, everybody's over. They're all like drinking and chilling and watching TV and sitting outside on the porch. And it was just a really nice get together. My first time really being invited to anyone's house outside of like a friend. So for it to be in a more romantic setting, I was actually really nervous. I was more nervous if anything else to meet her mother, because to me that was like the cornerstone of any like relationship. Like if your mother doesn't like me and we're dating or we're in the talking stages, I immediately feel awkward. I immediately feel uncomfortable, which is kind of ironic if you consider the fact that I'm married to someone whose mother literally despises me. But I digress. So we get there, she introduces me to like her cousins and her siblings and stuff, and everyone's like, oh, hi, saying hi to me and stuff, and like saying, oh, nice to meet you, I got offered a drink and all that. So we're just walking around introducing me to everybody. Met her dad's working the grill, met her uncles, her cousins, everybody. It was great. So she said, my mom is actually upstairs. She's getting ready. She has to make her grand entrance. She always has to make an entrance. I said, I respect it. That's totally fine. So we're sitting downstairs. We're like talking. Me and her dad are talking about like the fact that I like the Cowboys and I was born and raised in Philly. We're having that whole debate. Then all of a sudden I see her mom walk down the living room, the staircase in the living room, and my heart fell into my ass. So believe it or not, the mother of the girl that I'd been seeing for several weeks, I had actually had a one-night stand with about 2 months prior. I was at an after-hour club with a friend of mine, and I met this girl at the bar, and she was like an older woman. At the time I had a thing for like older women. It's probably because I've had like the hugest crush on Angela Bassett since I was like 15. But so she was an older woman. I was intrigued. I picked her up at a bar. We hooked up, and then, we kind of just let it go. It was like, what it was supposed to be. I knew at the time the girl was straight, or at least the fact that she played straight, or whatever the situation was, but I never intended on seeing that woman again in my life. Like, I was never supposed to see her again. That was never supposed to happen. So the fact that I'm actually sitting in this woman's living room, I've been seeing her daughter for like about 3 weeks, and no one but me and her mother know that we slept together. So I'm like immediately just mortified. And me and her mother make eye contact. We do like the ceremonial nod, like I'm not going to say anything if you don't say anything. She came downstairs, shook my hand, introduced herself, and said, "Oh, let me get you a plate." Forever the hostess. So, mind you, I tried so hard to put on my poker face and not have it exposed that I low-key boned my little semi kind of girlfriend's mom. But I really didn't know what to do. This was like way beyond anything that I had ever experienced before. I had never did this before. This was not something that I was prepared for. I laugh because my wife has this theory where in her brain it's like an office with like a bunch of filing cabinets, and like when something fucked up happens, like the people in her brain are trying to find the page on how to handle the situation. That was literally how I felt. Like I felt like I had like little cartoon people in my head, like an Inside Out, rummaging through drawers to find out what the response is, like what do we do, how do we handle this. So throughout like the rest of the afternoon, I'm like drinking, I'm getting a little bit more comfortable. Like the girls like really like, we seem like we're really getting along. So she goes to help her dad with some food out on the grill. So I'm in the kitchen by myself, helping myself to more deviled eggs and being a fatty. And her mom comes up to me and says, "Can I talk to you privately?" Cool, no problem. So we walk over into the little like pantry area. She closes the door and she said, "So we're not going to say anything, right?" Of course we're not going to say anything. Why the fuck would we say anything? Like, I'm literally dating your daughter. What the fuck am I going to say? Your husband's been sitting here giving me ribs for the last 2.5 hours. Like, I've done shots with your mother. Like, I can't even fathom telling anyone that we had sex. She said, "Okay, good. So, like, we're both on the same page." I said, "Of course, I'm not going to blow your spot up. Like, you're married. You have a whole family." And I told her, like, I really like your daughter. Like, I'm really, interested in seeing where things can go with her. And I really don't want to fuck it up. So I said, "Of course, I'm not going to say anything." Cool. So I'm thinking everything's cool, cozy, together. That's what's up. We agreed what we agreed on. Get ready to leave the little pantry area so I can go back out there and find the girl, and we can continue hanging out. And when we're just gonna call her Mrs. Robinson. So when Mrs. Robinson bumps up against like my side, she gives me the look. Now, mind you, we've both been drinking. It's a function. It's summertime. She's dressed like one of them like 90s TV moms, like one of like the hot TV moms. So she was giving very much like Vivica A. Fox. And like, so I was like, oh God. I was like, okay. So like, just like, don't react. Like, don't be an idiot. Don't do it. You don't want to do it. Don't do it. But of course, I'm the self-sabotaging lesbian that I am, and I did it. And we ended up making out in the pantry. Not realizing that the pantry opened from the other side. So even though we thought we closed the door so that no one could see what was happening, homegirl came in on the other side looking for me. And my entire spot got blown up. And rather than make her mother the villain, I took the L. I told her, like, hey, like, it's totally my bad. Like, your mom had nothing to do with this. It was a mistake, blah, blah, blah. I've been drinking. Happily excused myself and got my ass an Uber and went the fuck home. And to this day, I almost wished that I could have kept my fucking metaphorical dick in my pants, because I probably would have like actually had a halfway decent relationship with that girl. Like, she was so sweet, so down to earth, so nice, just so genuine, and like just like literally the most like sweetest little adorable little thing you could ever see in your life. And I fucked up because I wanted to fuck her mom. Like, what? But seriously, embarrassing shit aside, that has to be one of the single most embarrassing moments of my entire life. Like, literally, I literally will never forget that feeling of sitting in that living room and watching her mom walk down the steps and realizing that I'd low-key boned my little girlfriend's mom. Like, I will never live that down. And I know a lot of guys are like, no, that's hot as shit. Oh my God, I would have lived for that. That sounds like a porno. No, it was literally mortifying to know that I was literally that much of a sleaze case, that I literally had double dipped with the same fucking family members. Like, who does that? But in all intents and purposes, that's one thing off of my sexual bucket list that I will never have to worry about doing now as an adult. And I honestly got to live out a lot of men's fantasies. Sometimes I wonder what mom's doing though, because she was fine. I mean, her daughter was fine too, but I've always had a preference for chocolate girls. And mom was pretty chocolate. But nevertheless, embarrassing moments are only what you can make them. And if you can look past all of the embarrassment that you have ever experienced in life and just think about the fact that you aren't me and you didn't have sex with your girlfriend's mother and then forget about her only to be reintroduced to her at the family fucking cookout. Because at the end of the day, nobody will ever be as embarrassed as I was. But share your most embarrassing moments in the comments. Shoot me some messages on IG or Facebook or Twitter. Let me know what your most embarrassing experience was. Because trust me, if you can top mine, I tip my hat to you.